This one is a stunning, fantastic, and awesome podcast with author Gaurang Damani. Gaurang Damani is the author of Untold Stories of Ramayana, Mahabharata, A World War, and the Fifth Veda. And he can seamlessly connect the concepts between the Puranas, the Mahabharatas, the Vedas, and the Ramayanas to give us the timelines, the incidents, the chronologies, and the sequence of events which unfolded in the Bharatiya Aitihasik domain. So if you are interested in Bharatiya Itihasa, this podcast is for you. Do not miss it. Welcome to Joy, Clarity and Success podcast. My name is Shishmita Aditya Mukherjee. Let's get started. Namaskar sir, how are you?
नमस्ते सुमित जी, कैसे हो? हाउ आर यू?
चल रहा है सर, आप बताइए. I heard you were attending a few events recently and I think many of us know many of us know means most of us know that you have huge viewership in the internet and you are attending events. So I think you were talking about some event recently happening at your place.
So I, with the grace of God, I do get invited to speak at a few places, and I love speaking about Ramayana and Mahabharata and Krishna Bhagwan. So yesterday I was talking about Ramayana, and we were discussing a few events which were supposed to be controversial, but with the grace of God and the references to other scriptures, I was able to answer their questions.
Okay. So controversies, obviously, when we are talking about Ramayana and Indian epics, there is a lot of controversy and a lot of crisscrossing, lot of jumbling up happening. Things like why did Ravana became the way he became? We can talk from the personal level because today, as let me tell the audience, today our topic of discussion will be specifically very, very profound and untold stories of Ramayana. And Mr. Gaurang Damani is a renowned author who has written books like Untold Stories of Ramayana, Mahabharata, The World War, and the Fifth Veda. So all these topics are huge in themselves. They are very, very vast in their arena of discussion. So we will just focus on one topic, which is Ramayana today and the untold stories of Ramayana, starting from the personal level of the main characters of Ramayana, going into events, and also very, very interesting geographical pointers that point to geostrategic locations which are important right now also, which are being mentioned in those Indian epics like Ramayana. So this is just a brief introduction I wanted to give. So sir, we will move in the story form only, and I just wanted to understand the main characters like Sri Rama is there, Sita Ma is there, then Lakshman ji is there, Bharata ji is there, Kaikeyi ji is there, Janaka ji is there. So I just wanted to create a situation where we understand that where did they come from, like what is the backstory of them. It can include the past and in fact the past in terms of the previous lives also. So if we could give a backstory of the main characters, like obviously, how can I forget Hanuman ji? What is the backstory of Hanuman ji, Sri Rama, Sita Ma, Lakshman ji, and all? We'll start with all these four characters.
Sure. So everyone that you mentioned, basically Ramayana was a Deva Asura War, and a lot of demigods, they were reborn. We all know that Sri Ram is a Vishnu avatar, and they were all reborn on earth. And Hanumanji is also called, if you know Tulsidas Hanuman Chalisa, he's called Shankar Suvan. So he's also known as the son of Shiv Bhagwan. And all these characters, all these epic heroes were reborn to teach Ravana a lesson, who was a Rakshas. And some people tend to glorify him, but he was basically a villain. And apart from kidnapping Sita ji, he also had committed a lot of crimes. So, for example, he had misbehaved with Brihaspati Rishi's daughter Sulekha. He had misbehaved with Agni Dev, the fire demigod's wife Swaha. And he had misbehaved with a lot of Apsaras. And this is mentioned in Narsimha Puran, that he had misbehaved with Apsaras and he had kidnapped a lot of princesses of the kingdoms that he conquered. And there's a long list. He had misbehaved with an Apsara called Punjikashthala, which is mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. And then Punjikasthala In fact, he had violated her, and she was reborn as Anjani Devi on planet Earth. So that's the backstory of Anjani Devi. And then Ravan had forced himself upon Rambha, an Apsara, who was the daughter-in-law of Kuber. And for those who know, Kuber is the half brother of Ravan. And at that time, Rambha's husband, Nal Kuber, had given Ravan a shrap that if you force yourself on any woman without her permission, then your 10 heads will burst. So because of this curse, because of this shrap of Nal Kuber, this is mentioned in the epic Mahabharata, by the way. And sorry, but what I meant to also add is that all epics cross-reference Ramayana. So whether it is Bhagavad Puran, Mahabharata, Skand Puran, all epics refer to the events of Ramayana. So Nal Kuber giving a curse to Ravan that his head will burst when he tries to force himself on a woman is mentioned in Vyasji's Mahabharata. So that is why though Ravan had kidnapped Sita ji, he did not or he could not force himself upon her or do anything wrong with her. So that is the story of Sita ji. And the backstory of Sita ji is that in Anand Ramayana, Valmiki ji ne likha tha, he's written Valmiki Ramayana as well as Anand Ramayana. So in Anand Ramayana, he mentioned that there was a king called Padmakhsa, whose daughter he had worshipped Lakshmi Devi and Vishnu ji, and Lakshmi ji had incarnated as his daughter, King Padmakhsa's daughter. And during this girl's Swayamvar, again Ravan had tried to kidnap her, and this girl had entered into the fire rather than get captured by Ravan. So this is again an side story on why the valiant Rajput ladies would rather jump into the fire than fall in the hands of a asur. So that is what exactly this lady did, and then she was the one who was reborn as Sita. And the story in Anand Ramayana is that she turned herself into 5 small gems, which is what remained in the fire. And Ravan took those gems to Lanka, and there Mandodari told Ravan that Lakshmi ji doesn't stay in the house where the person doesn't have control over his indriya, that is his senses. And she knew very well that Ravan did not have control over his senses. So she said, you drop this small girl, because the 5 gems had changed into a small baby girl. So he then buried her outside King Janak's kingdom, where King Janak found her in the ground. So this is the backstory of Sita ji. And Sri Ram, we all know that he is the reincarnation of Vishnu ji. And the reason is that the death gods, the Dev, were so tired of Ravan's atrocities, because he would not only harass them, but he also was harassing Brahman and other pious people on the planet. And Padma Puran as well as Ramayana mentions that he used to eat Brahmans. So he was a Rakshas, right? Rakshas is a cannibal. So he, some people trying to glorify him, but he used to eat Brahmans. He used to stop yagnas. So that's when they worshipped Vishnu ji and requested him for some solution. And then Vishnu ji agreed to take birth on earth, and he chose Dasaratha ji for the same. So now again, one may think that why only King Dasaratha? Yes, he was a pious man. He was a very nice king. But why Dasaratha ji? Because in the past, Ravan had killed a Suryavanshi king called Anaranya. And, before dying, Anaranya had given a curse that your end will come at the hands of a Suryavanshi king. So that is why he chose a Suryavanshi dynasty, which is Dasaratha ji.
First 7 minutes were very, very heavy for me, actually. I did not know any of this, and this is like, and sir, I just wanted to know one more thing. King Janaka was an enlightened king.
Yeah.
And he was, if I'm not mistaken, the disciple of Rishi Ashtavakra. And once I have heard this story that he told Rishi Ashtavakra that I do not want to stay in the kingdom, and I would rather prefer to be your disciple and stay in your ashram rather than coming back and ruling the people. And then it was Rishi Ashtavakra who told him that your people are now ready for an enlightened king, and you are enlightened, you can go and rule them. I just wanted to understand these, even Sri Rama and Janaka, who had to witness so much turmoil during his lifetime. We can reference another king. I don't know if it is a part of this discussion right now. Shivaji also was a disciple of an enlightened master, and he also went through a lot of turmoils. Now, I just want to understand, because Sita Ma went through so much trouble, and Janaka, being her father, he was also enlightened. So, mm, how does this paradox unfold? Like, somebody knows that the future is going to be in so much turmoil. For Sri Rama also, there's going to be a lot of turmoil. If he is a avatar, he already is at a certain dimension, he knows, but still he chooses. What makes them do that for others?
Okay, so I think your question has two parts. I'll answer Sri Ramji ka part, why he went through so much trouble. The thing is, during a Deva Asura War, uh, Sukracharya, as we all know, the guru of the Asur, and he guides the Asur. When the Dev were having an upper hand, the Asur took refuge in Sukracharya's mother's ashram, Puloma Devi, and protected the Asur. And at that time, the Dev could not attack her because she herself was a very powerful lady, and they requested Vishnuji for help. So Vishnuji then killed Puloma, and then we may wonder, how can a woman be killed? Because our Vedic scriptures prescribe that a woman should never be killed. And the exception is that when Dharma is in danger, because she wanted the righteous demigods to be defeated and the unrighteous Asur to take over the three lok as we know it. So at that time when he killed her, the Asurs were defeated, and then Bhrigu Rishi came, because Bhrigu Rishi is the husband of Puloma ji, or the father of Sukracharya ji, and he cursed Vishnu ji that you will also separate from your wife and you will have to take birth on earth and suffer. So that is the reason why there was a separation, and he took birth, and he had to karma is supreme. No one can escape the effects of karma except Krishna Bhagavan, because that's what is claimed in Bhagavad Gita, and that he's the supreme lord, and karma pal doesn't affect him, because what he does is true karma yoga. Anyway, coming back to your question, Vishnuji had to take birth on earth because of this curse, and also because the demigods had approached him for a solution against Ravan. And a few other relevant people who are demigods who were reborn on earth is Agni Dev's reincarnation on earth was Neel. Neel was of the Vanar. Vishwakarma's incarnation was Nal. Nal was the Vanar who made the Ram Setu. And Brihaspati's reincarnation on earth was a Vanar named Tar, who took the side of Sugriv. So these were the few reincarnations. And Varun Dev's sons were killed by Ravan unnecessarily. So Varun Dev's reincarnation on planet was a Vanar named Sushen. If you remember, he's the one who recommended getting the herbs to cure Lakshmanji when he was hurt. So these are the reasons why birth and rebirth takes place in a continuous cycle. There is always a reason. There is always an action and a reaction which is there.
And because you mentioned Varun Deva, Sri Hanumana is also related to the element wind, if I am not mistaken. And if you could highlight his backstory also, how his birth played out in Ramayana.
So Hanumanji's story is very interesting, and we can refer to Shiv Puran. I'll try to summarize it because it's quite a lengthy story. The gist of which is that we know that Ravan was very powerful because he had the boons from Brahmaji that he can defeat pretty much anyone. But in his arrogance, he had forgotten to ask for a invincibility boon against humans. So that we pretty much all know. But he was very arrogant, and as I had said earlier, he was harassing kings, humans, Brahmins, demigod, everyone. So, once he does tapasya and he gets apar Shakti from Shivji, that we all know, because he had started cutting his heads and Shivji had appeared, and as a Vaid, that is a physician, he had restored his heads and given him the boon of apar Shakti. So this happened at Baidyanath Jyotirling at Jharkhand. So anyway, now he has so many boons and he returns to Lanka. So the demigods are again worried. So they ask Dev Rishi Narad for such suggestions or advice. So Naradji tells the demigod that he can let me do something. So he goes to Lanka and he tells Ravan that Arey, you got the boon from Shivji, but Shivji is Bholenath. So how do you know it's actually true? Why don't you test it? So actually, Ravan goes to Kailash in his Pushpak Vimana, not his Pushpak Vimana, the one he stole from Kuberji. He goes to Kailash and there, little away from the holy mountain, the Pushpak Viman stops. And Nandi Bail, the bull, Vahan of Shivji, stops Ravan saying, this is the holy abode of Shivji and Parvati ji, you cannot go ahead. So in his arrogance, he says that who is Shivji and why are you talking like a monkey in the way, get aside. So that is when Nandi, the bull, gets angry and he curses that your end will come and the monkeys will be responsible to bring about your end, and I'll give the strength to the arms of the monkeys. So that is the connection of why these reincarnations took place also in the Vanar Swarup. And at that time, Shivji also was very angry because Ravan anyway went ahead and lifted Kailash, and Shivji had to press his small toe and keep Ravan buried for hundreds, thousands of years under Kailash. And that's when he decided and decreed that the end of Ravan is due, and this menace has to end. So this is the backstory from the Puran, and how it implemented. We pick up the thread from a scripture called Parashara Samhita. Rishi Parashar, as we all know, is a very ancient sage. So in Parashara Samhita, it is written that Shivji and Parvati ji were going through the aerial route and they were flying above Venkatachal mountain range, Venkatadri, which is present day Tirupati Balaji ka mountain range. And below they saw a couple of monkeys sporting, and Shivji could read the mind of Parvati ji, and they both took the form of a monkey and they sported also. And Shivji's Virya is, it's very powerful, as we all know. So Parvati ji could not handle it, and the fruit was very fiery, and she gave that fruit to Agni. He also could not handle it, so he gave it to Vayudev, the wind demigod, and Vayudev carried it, and he took it to Anjani Devi. Now, if you would connect the dots that we mentioned, Punjikashthala was the Apsara who was violated by Ravan, and she was reborn as Anjani Devi, who was worshipping Shivji to get to become a mother, to get a child. So Vayudev gives her the fruit, and she becomes pregnant. So she becomes worried because she's the wife of Kesari, the Vanar. But then there is an Akashvani that don't worry, this is a holy fruit that you've taken of Shivji and Parvati ji, and the child is basically Shivji ka avatar. As some people say avatar, some say Ansh, or some say son of God Shiv. So that's how Hanumanji birth took place, and this fruit was given at Kishkinda as per Ramayana. And Kishkinda is present day Hampi of Karnataka. And at that time, what happened is Vali, who was the monkey king of Kishkinda, he was a very insecure monkey, and he poured a Panchaloha, hot molten alloy of 5 metals on the womb of Anjani Devi, because he wanted to kill the fetus. But obviously, Hanumanji, there's nothing which was going to happen. So the Panchaloha becomes his earrings, kundal, as is famous for Hanuman. And nothing happens, but Anjani Devi moved. And then we pick up the thread from another scripture called Brahma Puran, of which Gautami Mahatmya is a very important section. Gautami is river Godavari's other name. So there it clearly says that Hanumanji Hanumanji's birth took place on the banks of river Godavari. So now connecting that to folklore, there is a very nice village, very cute village near Nasik on the banks of river Godavari called Anjani. And there is a very nice Hanumanji's temple there, and the local priest and the people firmly believe that Hanumanji's birth took place at that location. So this is how we also reconcile that how did Hanumanji have three birthplaces? Because there are some discussions which keep going on whether he was born in Kishkinda, Nasik, or Tirupati. So they are all true because this is how the story happened. So this is the backstory of Hanumanji's birth and why he took birth to help Sri Ram defeat and kill Ravan.
And sir, I think the Ramayana, the war happened because of one act of Ravana, which happened in the jungles. And that Vanavas, one of the people responsible, in fact, one of the main person responsible for it was Kaikeyi. So what instigated her to do that? Could you tell her backstory also a little bit?
Okay. So when Vishnuji decided to take birth on earth as Dasaratha's son, because if you remember, I mentioned that all the demigods had requested him for help against Ravan. At that time, Brahmaji was there and he was in the assembly of all the Dev, and he said that all of you also have to go down and help Vishnuji achieve what you've asked for, which is why they all came to planet Earth in different forms, right? The Vanar avatar, which I mentioned. So at that time, it's a very small, short thing which is mentioned in Vyas Mahabharata, that there was a Gandharvi who's a celestial musician. So she also requested Brahmaji that even I want to contribute and even I want to help. So what Brahmaji said, okay, TK, you take birth on earth and you will be born in Ayodhya. And he tells her exactly what she has to do, what role she has to play. So she understands that and she also takes birth in Ayodhya. And she takes birth in Ayodhya as Manthara, the maid of Kaikeyi. So Manthara is there in Ayodhya to instigate Kaikeyi, because Kaikeyi was a stepmother of Sri Ram, but she respected him, she loved him, and it was a very mutual relationship. So never could she have imagined to do something like this to Sri Ram. But this is all destiny. This is how it all plays out. So it also, when we try to correlate events of our life, sometimes this is how it all happens. So Manthara was born in Ayodhya to instigate Kaikeyi to do what she did. But also see the beauty of the response. So when we say Sthita Pragnya, which is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Ram was supposed to become the king of Ayodhya, such a big, powerful kingdom. And he's told by his stepmother that you have to go to the forest on a 14-year exile. But there is no reaction on his face. There is no anger. There is no disappointment. There is no sense of disgust for what she's asking him to do. And even when there is, so he leaves without saying anything. And, he tells his father that I cannot disobey. I cannot breathe even for a second or think of disobeying you. So these were his words. And when he goes away to the forest exile, Sita ji and Lakshman ji follow him. So, he's at Chitrakoot, and then Bharat ji comes there, trying to, which we all know, he's trying to convince Sri Ram to come back unsuccessfully. But at the end of the whole thing, Sri Ram is telling Bharat ji that you have to obey and respect all the three mothers equally. So, though Bharat ji is upset with his mother Kaikeyi, Ram is telling him to respect her as much as he would respect Kaushalya and Sumitra. So, this is why Sri Ram is the ideal person. This is why he's called Maryada Purushottam. This is why Valmiki Ramayana says, Sarveshu Ramantu iti Rama. Everyone delights in Ram. His character, it was brilliant. Such a fair person, such a fair king, such a loving husband, such a loving son, and such a responsible prince. And then he was supposed to become the king. And when he did become the king, he was a person who delivered fair justice. He was not unfair. He was very fair in delivering justice. So Kaikeyi, sorry, I gave an answer for what you asked about Kaikeyi, but earlier.
No, that's fantastic. So, so Kaikeyi was basically being instigated by her maid, and who had a previous story to her. Okay. And also, sir, I just wanted to ask you one more question, because we have heard about the backstories of Sita Ma, Sri Rama, Hanumanji, and Ravana. Can you tell us one story which impacted them in their youth before the forest, going into the forest and all this happened? What shaped their destiny in the earlier stages of their life? Was there any incident? Can you recall any one, two, or three incidents of any of them?
Yeah, sure. So it also answers the controversy that we all know. After Ravan was killed, Sita ji gave an Agni Pariksha, and after the Agni Pariksha, Sri Ram and Sita ji went back to Ayodhya. They became the king and queen, and they ruled for 10,000 years. And after that, we all know that this Dhobi, the washerman, spoke what, and we heard that through his spies, and then he sent Sita ji on that exile again. He banished her from the kingdom, right? So this is what we know. So now coming back to your question on what childhood event influenced this. So as I mentioned that everything works on karma, and this event I'm about to recount is from Padma Puran. So Padma Puran has the story about Sita ji's childhood. So when she was growing up as the daughter of Janaka in the city of Mithila, she saw a very cute couple birds, parrots, and they were very sweet. Their sound was sweet, and she tells her attendants to capture the two parrots and cage them and bring them in front of her. So the couple, the male and the female parrot, are brought in front of Sita ji. The female parrot said that I'm pregnant. Please let me go. I do not want to stay in the stage. And the male parrot says that yes, she's right. Please allow us to go to the forest. And once she's delivered the babies, we will come back to captivity. So Sita ji is very stubborn at that time. She says, no, I cannot. I will keep you in the cage because I'm very enamored with your voice and your behavior and your sound and everything. So in that agony, the female bird who's pregnant, she dies. And the male bird also gets a very rude shock. So he curses Sita that you will also suffer separation from your husband during your pregnancy, is what he says. And he's in a very he's in a very angry state, and the male bird also loses his life because of the shock. But he's already given that curse to Sita ji. Okay, so this is why when she was pregnant, she has to undergo separation from her husband. And the interesting part is the male parrot was reborn as a Dhobi in Ayodhya. So this is the story in Padma Puran. So that also explains why Sri Ram did what he did. In fact, before he banished Sita ji, he had a meeting with his three brothers, and he tells his three brothers that there is a dual role I have to play, multiple roles I am playing. So right now I am speaking to you as the Suryavanshi dynasty king, and the Suryavanshi dynasty reputation is very important. So that is, anything which harms the reputation of our lineage is not acceptable. So either you banish Sita, drop her in the forest at some ashram of some rishis, or you kill me. So he gives the sword also to Lakshmanji, and obviously Lakshmanji is not going to kill Sri Ram, and that's why Sita ji ends up in a community where rishis and their families are staying.
And sir, now I would like to take the audience to the place where Sri Rama and his wife and his brother were staying after they were sent to the forest. So can you recall certain incidents which were very, very significant at that time and prior to the kidnapping of Sita Ma? Some incidents, if you can recall.
So they start from the description is given in Valmiki Ramayana. They start from Ayodhya. They cross Tamsa Nadi. They cross Gomti ji and Ganga ji, and then they meet Bharadwaj Rishi at Prayagraj, the junction of Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati ji, who guides them to stay at Chitrakoot. And there they meet Valmiki ji, and they build their cottage and they stay there. So after Bharat Milap, after some time of staying there, they decide to leave Chitrakoot, and there they meet Anasuya Devi and her husband Rishi. So there is, even today near Chitrakoot, there is a Anasuya ashram and Atri Rishi ashram very close to Chitrakoot. So this is where Anasuya Devi tells Sita ji that she has done something amazing as a princess as a to be queen, but she left all the comforts of the kingdom. She's the husband into the forest, and then there is a Rakshas. Beyond that, there is a Rakshas Virad who's killed, and there's a lot of description. So people, including me, misunderstand how many months were spent in Chitrakoot and how much time was spent in Panchvati, which is Nasik. So Valmiki Ramayana is very clear that the bulk of the time was spent in the Dandakaranya, because Atri Rishi, some Brahmins come and tell Sri Ram that the Rakshasas come from the forest and they disrupt the yagna and they disrupt their Vedic practices. So please help us. So Sri Ram promises them help. So when they go into the forest to confront the Rakshas, Sita ji asks also, why are you confronting the Rakshas? They've not done any harm to you. So the answer given Sri Ram is beautiful. It's very relevant to our life also. He says, I am a Kshatriya, so it is my dharma. It's my duty to protect people who need protection. People like ordinary citizens, rishis, and others who need protection. So they are being distressed. So though they are not harassing the Rakshas are coming and harassing them. So it's my duty to protect them against these cannibals. So if we, apply that logic to our life, if we all just live our life performing our duty, this world will be a beautiful place to stay.
Exactly. And sir, because we were discussing locations here, I believe you have mentioned hundreds of locations, 300 locations around, and they are very, very interesting locations. In fact, they are even geostrategically significant and relevant in modern world. So if you could mention a few of those locations and what are they relevant in times of Ramayana and the epics of Indic Itihasa.
So there has been Vedic Dharma all throughout the world for most of the time that the world has existed. And a lot of times in the interim, Vedic Dharma loses its appeal in the other places, and then Asurs or Adharma takes over. And it remains confined to Bharat as we know it today. So you talked of geographical locations, so I'll give you a few examples. So when Sugriv sent the Vanar Sena in the 4 directions to look for Sita ji, he sent them all over the world, because though Jatayu had said to Sri Ram that Ravana has taken Sita in the southern direction, Rakshasas can fly, they are cannibals and they have magical powers. So Sugriv tells Sri Ram that though he has taken her in the southern direction, he could have flown her anywhere. So we have to look in all the directions. And Hanumanji is sent to the south. He is his best, most reliable, most efficient, most able Vanar. But anyway, the other directions that the Vanar go are very global. So he, of course, looks in Bharatvarsh also, but I'll just mention briefly the other locations outside Bharat. So in the east, they cover Pundra, which is present-day Bangladesh. Then they go to Kuvarna Dweep and Yavadweep, which are the islands of Indonesia, that is Sumatra and Java. And then they go further east, and the island mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana is called Rupyak Dweep. Rupyak means silver, from where we get the currency of our country, rupee. So if I try to trace the geography on what could be Rupyak Dweep. So east of Indonesia, the biggest island where the second or the third highest reserves of silver on the planet is in Australia. So he's alluding to Australia, that she should be looked for in Australia. And then Sugriv says in the east, there is an island called Sudarshan Dweep. There is a sarovar called Sudarshan Lake, and it is the place where the sun is seen the first. So it is the island of the rising sun. And on this island, there is a mountain called Mount Uday, on which there is another mountain called Mount Saumanas. And near this mountain, there is a beautiful, there are beautiful flowers. And also nearby is a pathway to heaven. We just think about a little bit, is I think what we are referring to is Japan, because Japan is the land of the rising sun. There is Mount Fuji. If you see, it looks like there are two mountains, one on top of another. It is famous for its cherry blossom festival. And also near Kyoto, the prehistoric city in Japan, there is even today, the Japanese call a small sandbar, a walkway, as the path to heaven. So it matches exactly 100% with what Valmiki has mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. So this is the eastern path. And then, of course, in the west, he says the Vanar have to cross Sindhu, which is the Sindhu River, Indus River. Then they have to cross Balik. Balik is present-day northern Afghanistan's Bactria Margiana archaeological complex, as per historians. And then you have to cross a place called Prag Jyotish, is what Sugrivas. So now he's talking of Prag Jyotish in the west. But Markandeya Puran and other scriptures mention there is another Prag Jyotish in the east, which is where Kamakhya Devi Mandir is there, Guwahati. So there are two. Actually, the misconception is that most people skip the Prag Jyotish of the west, thinking that it may be a mistake. It is not a mistake. Mahabharata also, there is a mention of a Prag Jyotish in the west, where Krishna Bhagwan goes to kill Narkasur. He clearly mentions he goes to the west. Even during the Ratsuya Yagna, Nakul goes to the west, Arjun goes to the west in the direction of Prag Jyotish. Anyway, so this is, I've written a research paper also on this. Prag Jyotish I've mapped to Iraq's prehistoric city called Eridu. Eridu is where the Vanar Sena had to go and look. Now in the north, he says you have to look for Sitaji in the regions of Madra, which is the 5 rivers whose capital is Sakal Kot. Kot means a killa or a fort, which is land of 5 rivers is present day Punjab of Pakistan, whose city is the Sialkot. And then you also have to look in a place called Kamboj. Capital is Kapis. So not surprisingly, there is a province even today in Afghanistan, in the north of Afghanistan, which is called Kamdesh, whose prehistoric city is called Kapis. So it matches there also. And then he says you have to look in the region of the Darad, Shak and Yavan. So now Darad, historians say there is a province called, even today you can look it up on the net, there's a province called Dardestan in northeast of Iran, whose people were the Dardar, which is mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. And there is also a place called Dardar in Uzbekistan and Dardak in Tajikistan. So this is kind of the area where the Dardar lived. And it matches with the direction given in Valmiki Ramayana. And then you have to, the Vanar have to look in the region of the Shak, which is the tribe which historians say they lived in the delta between the two rivers, Amudarya and Sirdarya. And the region of the Yavan. Yavan is the Turkic Greeks or Turkmenistan is what he's referring to. So these are the geographical places where Sugriv mentions. And amazing part is he also mentions you have to go all the way north to where there is no sun, the sunless northern ocean. So he's talking of the Arctic Ocean or the North Pole. And he gives a lot of places which I have mapped in the book on the way. So that also matches with the present day geography.
And we'll come back to the location. We'll stay on the location for a while because this is again a wow moment for me. I had no idea about these things. They were looking for these places and these locations in such a short amount of time, right? How time was at that time and how time is right now. I have questions on that also, but that is a different topic. Are you a believer or do you speculate that other dimensions, flying vehicles, other planets, extraterrestrials, all these things that we want to brush off. We want to brush off being logical as poetry or as imagination. What is your take on it? Do you want to rationalize it in the logical way that it's just poetry, or like beautification, ornamentation of the epic, or are they real dimensions, real places, real geographies, and these technologies actually existed?
Yeah, they so past tense as well as present as well as future. So they absolutely existed. Uh, they exist today and they will exist tomorrow till the end of the Manvantar and the Kalp as we know it. So our sages are brilliant. They knew the geography of our universe, and today the scientists talk about our cosmos having millions of universes. So our scriptures mention it very effortlessly that there were countless Brahmand, and there are countless Brahma in each Brahmand. Brahmand is a universe. So all these things are already mentioned in our very, very, very ancient prehistoric scriptures. So they all exist. Space travel is possible. Time travel is possible. Time travel is mentioned in so many places in so many scriptures. Mahabharata mentions it. So when Krishna Bhagwan was in Vraj Bhumi doing Leela and enjoying and performing childhood miracles. So as a 5-year-old, when he was performing miracles, Brahmaji wanted to see who's this child who's performing all these miracles. He comes to Vraj Bhumi and he sees this 5-year-old child playing with the calves and the gwal, and he kidnaps the gwal and the calves, takes them to Brahma Loka and comes back in a moment. And when he comes back in a moment, already 1 year has passed on planet Earth. So 1 moment of Brahma Loka is equal to 1 year on planet Earth. And when he comes back, he sees that Krishna Bhagwan is playing with the exact same children and the calves. So, he wonders what happened. And then he instantly realizes he's in front of Paramatma, and he bows before him, and he repeatedly does Ashtang Pranam or Dandvat Pranam. And, that's basically cloning as we know it today, and time travel. So it was performed that our scriptures mentioned it, and they are mentioning it thousands and lakhs of years ago. Many other events like these happened of time travel. So all these things happen, they are true, they happen. It's just that it is our limitation of our mind that we don't believe it or don't want to believe it. But if we expand our thinking, our thought process, all these things will become believable.
Yeah, actually, even if we don't believe, it's I don't think it is necessary to disbelieve them necessarily. We can say, I don't know. We can search for it. We can still question it. Is it possible or not possible? Because scientists like Michio Kaku are saying that we now have an equation for trans-dimensional travel. So he is saying that we have an equation for trans-dimensional travel, and he's referring to the quantum physics and string theory and all those basic physics of today. So disbelieving them, I think, is unnecessary. We can ask questions till we understand it ourselves. What do you think about that?
I absolutely agree with you. If you are not convinced, then you introspect, you ask, you research, look up for more stories, and look for parallel research like the one you quoted, and you will get the answers. And multiverse also is a much talked about topic. Multiverse also is true. All these things are definitely true. It's happening as we speak.
Yes. And sir, one more question is very, very relevant regarding geography and history. Both this question belongs to. One is, where is Ravana's Lanka? Many questions will be interlinked in this one. So where is Ravana's Lanka? And you were talking about so many wrongdoings of Ravana with Kuvera. And somewhere I've heard the story that the palace of Ravana had something to do with Kuvera himself. So is there a relation? And did Ravana belong to some place which is right now modern day Noida or Haryana or all those regions? And in that context, this manufactured divide between North India and South India, is it relevant?
So you've asked me many questions. I'll answer. If I forget any of them, please remind me. So the South divide is as fake as can be. I'll start with the last question first. So when Dasaratha ji wanted a child who could, or a son, to take over his kingdom, he approached his school guru Vashishtha Muni. So he advised him to do Mahalay Shraddh first to appease the forefathers who are in Yamlok or Pitrulok, because that's the foundation. We all humans have to do it. We to worship our forefathers, without whom we would not have been here. So after that is done, Vasishtha Muni tells him to go and worship Kamakshi Devi in Kanchi. So this is in Skanda Puran. So Kamakshi Devi temple even today exists in Kanchipuram. So from Ayodhya, he went to Kanchipuram lakhs of years ago. Okay. So that is one example. There was no north-south divide. Even while Sri Ram was in Vanvas, he traveled. We all know that Rameshwaram Jyotirling is in the south in Tamil Nadu. Bhadrachalam in Telangana is also called Dakshin Kashi. There are many. I've listed dozens of places. Another another example which comes to my mind is Valmiki Rishi. One has the story of Valmiki Rishi. We all know the story of him being a robber in the forest and how the Saptarishi and Narad Muni reformed him. And the location mentioned is Mulasthan in Skanda Puran. So Mulasthan, which all historians agree is Multan of present day Pakistan. So that is where he was. And he asks Narad Muni, where should I do tapasya? He guides him to go to Mahakal Van, which is Ujjain of the woods outside Ujjain of Madhya Pradesh. Okay. And as per the local folklore, there were ashrams of Valmiki ji even today. You can look it up on the net in Amritsar and Lahore. Still has ashrams of Valmiki ji. So anyway, so now he's done tapasya in Ujjain and he's become, he's gained that knowledge. Where are his other ashrams? So if you look it up, there are at least a dozen ashrams. A lot of them are down. For example, Pulapalli in Kerala has an ashram of Valmiki ji. Okay, so now looking at Mulasthan of today's Pakistan to Pulapalli in Kerala. And he attained Samadhi in Nagapattinam of Tamil Nadu. Okay, so there were his other ashrams were in Jharkhand. Bittur is where Kush and Love were born to Sita ji. Bittur is on the banks of river Ganga near present day Kanpur of Uttar Pradesh. So now look how widespread it is. So there is no north-south divide. It is all in the minds of the people who want to divide our country. India, the world was one, as I said, only during times when the Asurs are in ascendance, we limit ourselves to the eastern part of Sindhu River. And the description is all there. We know that from Himalayas to the Southern Ocean. But anyway, so there was no north-south divide. I've given many other examples too. Now the next question is about Lanka. So I'll let you and the viewers decide where is Lanka. Okay? Because I know some people have been saying Lanka was all over the place. But I'll tell you the local folklore. Sri Lankans are promoting Lanka today. And if you look up a tourist website of Sri Lanka, at least 50 places are listed where events of Ramayana happened. So I'll list a few. Okay. So when the Pushpak Vimana landed in Lanka, okay, so the place is as per now I'm giving all the locations as per the folklore, okay, Sri Lankan folklore. Veragan Tota. Tota means a port in Sinhalese language. And they say there were 5 such airports of Rawar. So Veragan Tota. Next to it is Sita Kotua. Court, as I had said earlier, is a fort. Is where he had kept Sita ji. Then he took her to Sigiriya. Then he was insecure. So he got her down to Ashok Vatika, which we all know, which is present in Nuwara area. But en route, he gave her rice balls, which she refused to eat. She threw it out of the chariot. And even today, there is rice which grows in this place called Sita Guli, which is supposed to be auspicious. So Sri Lankans, even today, store the rice which grows in Sita Guli. This is the place. So when she was in Nuwara area, that is Ashok Vatika, even today, there is a very beautiful temple of Sita Amma in Ashok Vatika. And next to it, there is a place called Sripura, where the Rakshasi women were staying, who were guarding Sita ji. Okay, so this is all there. There are 7-8 tunnels which are there in Sri Lanka. And then when Hanuman ji came there, when he was looking for Sita ji, when he landed, he came to a place where he started searching for Sita ji on Lanka. There's a place called Ramboda. where there is a beautiful Hanumanji temple today. So Ramboda is where he started searching for Sita ji. Then also where Indrajit fired his Brahmastra to tie down Hanumanji for 48 minutes. That is one Murat. The place is near Ashok Vatika. It is called Mahalia Thena. And here, even today, the soil is red and flat because of the effects of Brahmastra. And he burns down Lanka, we all know. And he takes rest and he cools his tail in a place called near Usangoda. Usangoda is where the place was so burned down that nothing grows even today in Usangoda. And then the Ram Setu, we all know, starts from Rameshwaram onwards and it connects to Talai Manar. And Talai Manar on the northern tip of Sri Lanka. The war was fought in many places. Yuddha Ganava is on the eastern part. And when Hanumanji got the Sanjeevani booty to revive Sri Ram and Lakshmanji who were hurt by Indrajit's Brahmastra, he landed at a place called Dolukonda. Dolukonda in Sri Lanka, where the locals believe is where this mountain was kept. Dolukonda. Okay. Now, second time when Ravan hurt Lakshmanji with Maya Astra, Sushen the White asked Hanumanji to get Sanjeevi booty. So first time was Sanjeevani, second time is Sanjeevi booty. Okay. So this Sanjeevi booty, as per the locations which are described in Valmiki Ramayana, I think there is a Sanjeevi hill in Tamil Nadu, is where he got it from. And the hill was kept in a place called Ritigala. So Ritigala is in the northern part of Sri Lanka. It's a dry place. But on top of this small hillock of Ritigala, there is always this Western Ghat type climate. So Sanjeevi Hill was got from the Western Ghats of Tamil Nadu. So now he also took the other battlefields of Sri Lanka. So Rumasala is a place in southwestern Sri Lanka where botanists have said that the herbs of Rumasala are similar to the Western Ghats. So Western Ghat climate has nothing to do with Sri Lanka. You know, the cloudy climate and the type of herbs which grow there are found in Rumasala. And locals say that there were 3 battlefields near. That is why he got it there. Sinigama, Hikkaduwa and Dondra, I think. So these battlefields are all near there. Okay. So this all matches. And there, Kumbhakarna Gala is a huge cave. The northern part of Sri Lanka is where it is believed Kumbhakarna was sleeping, where, they woke him up with all the elephants and all that. So there is a place called Kumbhakarna Gala also. So now we come to the last part of the war. Lagala or Lanka Giri is where Ravan was killed. And there's a place called Lagala where it happened. And Sri Ram fired the Brahmastra from a place called Dunuvilla. So this is all local folklore of Sri Lanka. There are 50 places. Show me one other country on this planet which has anything remotely connected to this. Okay, it's not done yet. Where Chaji took her Agni Pariksha, the place is called Devrumpula. Even today, if a Sri Lankan goes and takes a vow at Devrumpula, the other Sri Lankan will believe that yes, what he's saying is true. Vibhishan became the king at a place called Kelania, which is present-day Colombo. Ravan was cremated at a place, I think it was near Yuddha Ganava, is where he was cremated. Yahangala, sorry, not Yuddha Ganava. Yahangala is where Ravan was cremated. And Sri Ram did a pilgrimage before he returned to Ayodhya. Tiruga Kuneshwaram, Kiteshwaram, and Manavari. And he worshipped Shiv Bhagwan at these places. So now there are so many, I think I counted at least 3-4 dozen places in Sri Lanka which match with the events of Ramayana. So now it's for you and the viewer to decide where Lanka is.
Yeah. So one time it happens, it can be a coincidence. Twice it happens, you can question. But 3 times, 30 times, then it becomes very difficult to deny. And this was a fantastic segment, I would say. And one more part I would like to say, because you have mentioned that Kishkinda, and Kishkinda was where Hanumanji was born, and it is in modern day Hampi, which is in Tamil Nadu. So it is like, it is in Karnataka. So sorry. So Karnataka. So it is like Rama coming in distress, who is quote unquote North Indian, and the South Indian army basically rescuing or solving his problem through sacrificing their own personal priorities and going into war because of him. So there is no, I don't see this. Am I seeing it the right way, or am I just off the mark here?
Sorry, I disagree. Valti and Sugriv were born in Meru in the Himalayas. And even today, if you look up the list of mountains in the Himalayan ranges, you will see a Mount Meru. So the scriptures clearly say that they were born in the Himalayas at the foot of Mount Meru near a lake. Rikshraj was the father and the mother of Vali and Sugriv. So that is a north location, and they became the kings of a kingdom in the south in Karnataka. So again, the mobility, and when Anjani Devi was doing tapasya to please Shivji, Kurukshetra is a region where there is a Vrittakedar temple where she did tapasya. So that's in Haryana. So that's in north, but he was born in Nasik or Nasik and Hampi, which is again mid and south. So there is absolutely no division. It is absolutely fluid. India is one country, Bharat is one country, and any attempt to divide it is really futile and it will fall flat on the face.
Yes, and where did Ravana, like Ravana was the king of this place called Lanka, but did he belong to Lanka or was he from somewhere else?
Okay, so nice question. I'll try to recollect the answer, the locations. But Pulastha Rishi and his wife was Malini. Their son was Rishi Vishrav, and Vishrav Rishi's wife was Deva Varnini, whose son was Kut. And there is a place called Visrak in Uttar Pradesh. I think it is near Noida. But Visrak is where the Vishrav Rishi had his ashram. Okay, so this is Noida. And Kuber became the king of Lanka, and he became the king of Yaksh, which is in the south. As per local folklore, is believed to be from a place called Mandodari in Rajasthan. So this is how mobility is and was at that time.
And today, tourists are going to one place where there is a kind of a hill which they climb up in Sri Lanka, I'm saying. They climb up a hill, and that place is supposed to be the golden temple of Ravana. Do you have any inputs on that? Like,
the scriptures say his palace was on Lanka Giri. Giri means a small shikar or a peak. And the locals say that is Lagala. So I'm assuming you are referring to Lagala, Lanka Giri.
I don't remember the place of the tourism spot, but it's like there is a there is an architectural platform at the top of that hill or the giri that you're talking about, and people are going there, and it is being, and the folklore is basically that was Ravana's palace there.
Okay, it's possible.
Okay. And what was the relation between Kuvera and Ravana in terms of, did he like did Ravana take over or loot something from Kuvera? What was that? Like, was this the palace of Kuvera taken over by Ravana by theft or whatever, or did he make it for him, or what was the thing there?
Okay, so in Brahman Puran, there's a very interesting story. I already mentioned Vishrav Rishi. So there is, we all know of Kashyap Muni. So Kashyap Muni, he had many wives, and we are all descendants of Kashyap Rishi. One of his wives' name was Khasha, and their two sons were called Rakshas and Yaksh. Okay, and Yaksh marries a Pishachini. A Pishachini basically is she's a cannibal, but she's not a Rakshas. Okay, so Pishachini means basically a person who has possessed someone else's body. Pishach or Pishachini. So Pishachini marries this Rakshas, and their child is a woman called Yatudhan, and her descendants were called the Yatudhan Rakshas. Okay. In the lineage then came a girl called Kaikeyi. So Kaikeyi basically is a hybrid of a Rakshas and a Pishach, right? So Kaikeyi and Vishrav Rishi's son is Rava, because she approached Vishrav Rishi that she wanted children, and her children were, as we all know, Ravan, Kumbhakarna, Vibhishan, and Shurpanka. So Ravan basically was the son of a Brahman father, but his mother was a hybrid Rakshas Pishachini.
Okay.
So Kuber and Ravan were half brothers because they had a common father, but the mothers were different.
And say one more question regarding this. So we have spoken about the events that happened, a few of the events that happened in the forest and Panchavati, and also a few incidents that happened in the war. Could we speak a little bit about Ravana's brother, Kumbhakarna and Indrajit?
So Kumbhakarna, I already mentioned, was his brother. Indrajit was Ravan's son, and Kumbhakarna. So that's okay. So Ravan's brother Kumbhakarna also worshipped Brahmaji, and he also got the boon. But Kumbhakarna earlier had defeated Indradev, the king of the demigods. So while he was doing tapasya, Indra approached Saraswati Mata and he requested her for help. So Saraswati Mata ensured that Kumbhakarna, instead of asking for Indrasan, asked for Nindrasan. So instead of asking the seat of Indra, he asked for Nindrasan, which is sleep. So Saraswati Mata again helped. That is why we worship the gods and the demigods. There is a logic behind everything Sanatan Dharmi does. So Saraswati Mata helped the human race that way because he was a very powerful Rakshas. And he was undefeated that time. And Mahabhagavat Upapuran event on how he was killed, it was very difficult or impossible to kill him, but Brahmaji appears on the battlefield and tells Sri Ram to worship Durga Mata. So on the 9th day of the war, Sri Ram worships Durga Mata, and with her blessings, he is able to kill Kumbhakarna.
Okay. And related to this, if I can recall, there is an incident of Sri Hanuman shifting his size or dimension and becoming small or something like that happened. So what was the incident about?
So that is Ashtasiddhi. As per Ashtanga Yoga, any human or any person can achieve Ashtasiddhi. Anima, Mahima, Lagima, and there are other siddhis. Vashishtha, Ishitva, Kama Vasayat. So there are siddhis like Anima is becoming small, Mahima is becoming huge. So he had those supernatural powers because of his tapya and his birth from the lineage of Parvati ji and Shivji. So he did that. So when he was flying across the ocean towards Lanka, he approached by Surasa Nath, and then he's approached by Singika. So Sursa, that's the story that that she opens the mouth. So he becomes small. It first becomes big for the mouth. She opens big, and then he becomes small, and then he flies out of her mouth. And Singika is when she swim up like the Bermuda Triangle. She gobbles up Hanumanji, and Hanumanji becomes grows in size, and he tears her stomach and comes out. So this is how he changed size. And even when he was trying to rescue Sita ji from Lanka, he grows in size to show that he can fly her across. But Sita ji, in Vyas Mahabharata, it is mentioned that Sita ji tells Hanuman ji that I will not willingly touch another male. Plus, it is for Sri Ram's reputation of Suryavanshi dynasty that he has to come and rescue me. So the samples of him changing his dimensions.
Right. Ashtasiddhi Navnidhi. This is the part that you are talking about for Hanumanji. And one more thing that is popularized by the movie Bahubali, there is one chant mentioned there, Dhivara Prasara Saurya Bhara. So that is basically supposed to be the chant which a mentor of Hanumanji is reminding him of his powers. And do you have you explored that part where before the flight is being taken, before the war is starting, Hanumana is being reminded of his supernatural existence?
Correct. So this happens on the shore of the Southern Ocean. So when he was a child, he was very mischievous, as all children should be. And that time, the Brahmins had cursed him that you will forget your powers and only when someone reminds you, it'll come back to you. So he had forgotten his powers. So on the seashore, when Jatayu's brother Sampati meets the Vanar who are looking for Sita, like Angad, who's Vali's son, and Jamvant, the bear, the wise bear, he's listening to their conversation, and Sampati is Jatayu's brother. So he interjects and says that, I saw Ravan flying across the ocean, and it is 100 yojan far away. So all the Vanars discuss. Some say I can jump 10 yojan, some say 20 yojan, things like that. That's when Jamvant ji, the wise bear, reminds Hanuman ji of his powers, and then he's able to jump.
Okay. Is there any other topic that you would want to speak here? Like I may have left out? I have left out a lot, I can understand that.
I think we covered quite a bit. We can talk about that Brahmastra that Sri Ram fired. Maybe that can be the last question.
So as we are coming to the end of this discussion, I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. And that we know about the virtuousness of Sri Rama. We know about the integrity of his brother Lakshmana and the profound relationship he shared with Sita Ma. But we do not know we have not discussed here what made Ravana become what he became. Like, what is there any predestined map to that? And the end of Ravana, how that end happened, that there were 10 heads that that is being talked about, and the heads were regrowing when they were being cut off, and then something else had to be done to put an end to this. So what is the crux of all this?
Okay. So Bhagavad Puran has the story of his birth at Vaikunt, where Vishnuji stays with Lakshmiji. The doorkeepers are called Jaya and Vijay, and once they had arrogantly stopped the great devotees of Vishnuji, the four Sanath Kumar, from entering Vaikunt, and because of their arrogance, Sanath Kumar had cursed them to take birth on earth. And they had begged for mercy, and they said, okay, theek hai, then what you can do is you can take 3 births on earth and come back at your original position as doorkeepers. And each of those 3 births, your end will come at the end of divinity, Vishnuji. So in their first rebirth, they were reborn as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh. So Hiranyaksh was killed by Varaha Avatar, and Hiranyakashipu was killed by Narsimha Avatar. Then they were both reborn as Ravan and Kumbhakarna. So who were destined to take birth on earth and destined to end at the hands of Vishnu Avatar, which is Sri Ram. And their third birth was to happen during the time of Mahabharata as Shishupal and Dantavakra. So Shishupal was the king of Chedi, which is present day Madhya Pradesh, UP border. Yep. And Dantavakra was the king of Karush, which is present day Myanmar, Burma. So for Bhagavad Puran, Krishna Bhagavan killed them during the events of Mahabharata. So this was the destiny, or this is the reason why Ravan had to take birth and harass people and have an end at the hands of Vishnuji. And how it ended is, yes, he had 10 heads, and Valmiki Ramayana is very clear. Sri Ram was not able to finish off the heads. So Mahabhagavad Upapuran mentions this story where he worships Durga Mata as per Brahmaji's advice, and Sri Ram worships her for 9 days, and on the 8th day she appears. So we, by the way, this we celebrate as Sharad Ritu Navratri or Sharadiya Navratri as we know it, which is very popular in West Bengal, of course. So on the 8th day, Durga Mata appears and says, you place your bow in front of me and I'll bless it. So she does. And on the 9th day, Sri Ram uses his Brahmastra and fires on Ravan's chest and brings about an end to Ravan. And then Durga Mata appears to bless Ravan and Ram, and she has also said that you immerse my idol in the water on the 10th day. So that is why we for idol on the day, and also Dashera is celebrated on the 10th day, where Vibhishan cremated Ravan, and we burned the effigy of Ravan and Kumbhakarna.
Wow. So, sir, it was so great speaking with you. I think even if we want to discuss Ramayana, and there are 10 more podcasts that we can do like this, and it will not finish. So I hope you have enjoyed this discussion. and I would hope if you have some time, we can discuss on some other aspect of Ramayana or on some other topic of your choice. So thank you so much for your time, your gracious presence, and wish to talk to you once again.
Sure, sure. Thank you for having me and wish you good luck. And it's always a pleasure to speak about our divinity and epic stories.
Thank you so much, sir. Hope you enjoyed this video. If this video added value to you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with a friend who may find this helpful. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.